without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to today's speaker. Alison Miller opened local adult boutique Taboo when she was 23 years old and was still working on her BA in fashion merchandising from VCU. Apparently, I can't talk today. So over the past 20 years, Alison has grown her business from one store to three. She's earned national awards, including Boutique of the Year. She's also won global or local awards here in Richmond, and she was selected as the best adult novelty store 9 years in a row in Style Weekly. The thing that is really cool about Alison, though, is that there's a lot of things that are really cool about Alison, but she is really a person who identifies and exudes release. She believes in bringing things out into the open and shedding light on them through communication. I actually met Alison for the first time at a talk at the Broad when the Broad was still here in Richmond, talking about different relationships and how to explore what it means and to communicate in the relationships that you're in. And she also has a magazine that she started called Throats to the Sky. She is a writer and regular contributor to both local publications and national magazines. She is a proud promoter of sex positivity and enjoys facilitating discussions on sexuality. Last year, I'm sorry, I think it was in 2019, Alison and her family moved to San Diego, but she still continues to manage Taboo and she is in Richmond very frequently. Since moving to California, Alison has renewed her interest in poetry. She has earned certification from San Diego's Writers Inc., and she started Throats to the Sky, that literary magazine I talked to you about. They accept admissions, I think 4 times a year. Alison, you can clarify that here in a second. And I know in the fall she is starting at San Diego State University, and her new chapbook, Maine, debuts in early 2022. She is also a certified aerial yoga instructor. So if you follow her on the gram, you are going to get some very cool, interesting things popping into your feed. So if you could all just quickly unmute and please welcome Alison Bell Miller to the stage.
Welcome, Alison.
Hey,
Alison.
welcome.
Take it away, Alison.
I'm really excited to be here. Like Michelle said, I'm in San Diego, so it's what 6:30 now. I've been up since 4:30. This is weird, but I'm really happy that I can join you guys virtually. I wish I could be there in person, maybe someday. When I was asked to do this and I was told that the subject was going to be release, I was just it just felt perfect. I had just had an interview published in Shout Out SoCal, a San Diego publication, in which I talked about letting go of stress and negativity and things that deplete you. And it had just come out and I had read what I said and I thought, man, this is brilliant. Like it sounded so great. And it made me laugh because I feel like I can be so bad at releasing things. I take on a lot, and because of that, though, I've really kind of focused on release for the past few years. And so I'm really excited to talk to you guys about it. And so that's one area of release, is releasing expectations, releasing jobs or duties or things that you feel like you need to do. And then I started thinking about all of the other things that release can mean. And of course, being who I am and doing what I do, the first thing that I thought about was sex. Sex is a release in so many ways. Obviously, an orgasm is an incredibly valuable, healthy release, but so is releasing shame around sex and releasing yourself into your own sexuality, and that sort of thing. So, sex is definitely a form of release that I have stuff to say about. Another one is accepting impermanence, releasing the idea that we can hold on to anything, releasing attachments. And then the fourth idea about release actually came to me from Michelle, who mentioned it briefly, but she talked about how I've released myself into the world. And I think that's a really important one, also releasing yourself into the world and showing up honestly and openly for yourself, and how that can help yourself as well as benefit those around you. So those are kind of the four um, facets of release that I want to talk about. And I'll start with the first most important one, which is clearly sex. And I will give a little bit of history about myself and Taboo. Michelle mentioned a lot of this, but I opened my first shop on Broad Street when I was 23. I was in school for fashion merchandising, and retail was definitely already my path. But I sort of fell into the adult industry, and it was perfect because sex is something that I've really long been interested in, and kind of confounded about all of the negativity that seems to be around sex, and all of the quiet around it, and just this sense that so many people are probably feeling things and wanting things and having desires that they're afraid to talk about with other people, that they're maybe afraid to admit to themselves. Um, at the time, and still currently, there were very few options for adult shopping in Richmond. I found that a lot of what was out there was, lingerie stores that had maybe a tiny little toy section hidden in the corner, or, the bookstores that had been there in the 70s that were intimidating to enter into, or gag gifts, places like Spencer's that might have a vibrator right alongside a like a fart toy or something. And we all love a good penis straw, and Taboo has our section of that. But I feel like sex is an important and serious and intense part of the human experience, and I didn't feel like that was represented. So with Taboo, I felt like I had a responsibility to, and I feel like all adult stores should have a responsibility to be staffed with knowledgeable, passionate, compassionate people who are truly interested in sex positivity. It's not just another retail job. It shouldn't be about just ringing somebody up at the counter. We have customers who are maybe embarrassed, or ashamed to be in there, or maybe they have no idea what they want. And it was important to me to be able to meet those people openly and honestly, and show up for them, as well as provide a variety of things. I feel like I've always liked to say that Taboo has something for every, consenting adult out there. It's not just my idea about what's sexy. It's not the general population's idea about what's acceptable, but it's something to kind of cater towards everyone. So with that in mind, I opened the Broad Street location almost 20 years ago, which is crazy. There are a lot of restrictions in Richmond, so it took me about 12 years to get my second location, which is on Midlothian Turnpike. I took over a bookstore, one of the bookstores that I was referring to that had been there a long time, and kind of demolished it and rebuilt it. So if you haven't been to our Midlothian Turnpike location, please stop by. It's huge and beautiful. And then around the same time, I had the opportunity to open a shop on Patterson in the far West End. And we've received lots of support, lots of awards. Like Michelle said, I'm so excited. We've been the Richmond's favorite adult novelty store ever since Style Weekly brought that category into the Best of Richmond. We've won Boutique of the Year. We've been nominated for AVN Awards, which is, that's like the Oscars for my industry. And it's been really exciting. And I've also been really excited to have the opportunity to speak. This isn't something that I expected when I, opened retail stores, but I've done lots of talks. I've talked to college classes, and just the opportunity to spread this idea of sex positivity has really become super central in my life. And then also very quickly, I just want to touch on like I mentioned, orgasms are so beneficial. And I just wanted to quickly list some of the health benefits from having orgasms. Orgasms can lower your risk of certain cancers, uh, boost fertility, regulate your menstrual cycle. Orgasms can help alleviate pain, lower stress. It's good for your heart. It's good for your skin. It's good for your self-esteem, and it can even prolong your life. So if you are wanting to have more orgasms, come to Taboo, email me, we'll hook you up. Orgasms are important. So that's my sex talk. Next, I will move into releasing expectations of yourself and kind of slowing down. And for that, I have prepared my own separate introduction. Michelle already said a lot of this, but I'm going to read this. Hi, I'm Allison. I'm a sex educator. I own and operate 3 adult stores on the other side of the country. I have 2 young children and a husband with whom I started a pickle business. I have a dog who eats home-cooked food, a snake, and 8 chickens. I'm a certified mat and aerial yoga instructor, and I currently teach aerial classes. I study Spanish every day. This fall, I begin my candidacy for an MFA in poetry at San Diego State. I'm a poet. My second book is due out early next year. You can find it on my website, where you can also find my blog, my recently published work, my visual art, my Etsy page, and Throats to the Sky literary magazine, of which I'm the creator and sole editor. So clearly, I don't have an easy time taking things off of my plate and letting things go, but I try. And it's something that I've been working with for a while. Part of the reason that I moved to San Diego 2 years ago was to kind of take myself out of my office. Honestly, I was spending 40 hours a week in my office, and Taboo is at a point where, I have a great staff, I have amazing managers, and I didn't need to be there like that. And I wanted to find some more space in my life. I wanted to find sunshine. I wanted to find more time to write, which was, my passion since I was a kid. I wanted to spend more time with my children. So I came out here with that in mind, to continue to support Taboo, but to maybe let in some space and some light. And before I even got out here, I started researching writing workshops and stuff in San Diego. And I signed up for my poetry certification at San Diego Writers Inc., which I did the 25-week course, like immediately. I completed it, I think 8 months after I got out here. And that led to me beginning to submit to magazines again. And so I've been submitting to, and I've been fortunate to have been published in about a dozen magazines last year. And then that led to me noticing the lack of literary magazines that focused on sex positivity. So I started Throats to the Sky literary magazine, which is on my website, throatstothesky.com. And all of a sudden, my plate started getting full again. San Diego is beautiful. The weather's amazing. And it was very easy for me to fall into an aerial yoga habit, as well as a stand-up paddleboard habit, stand-up paddleboard yoga. And then when I felt like I was doing too much and I needed to relieve some pressure, I started drawing, which led to me creating note cards that I sell and prints that I sell online and in the stores. And then of course, I've been trying to increase the amount of time and fun things that I do with the kids. So I have a full plate again. But I feel like I'm in a much different place than I was 2 years ago. I remember to check in with myself. I have friends and family who remind me, particularly my husband, Amir, to slow down and that it's okay to take time off. And if you wake up and you're not feeling it, you can cancel an activity. And if you find somebody in your life that's maybe not, if a relationship's not nourishing you, maybe cut back on the amount of energy that you give to that relationship. I'm also releasing the idea that I have to release everything. I think that I have struggled with thinking that it's wrong to be as busy as I am. And I think that it's important to find a balance, to know, maybe it's okay that you want to be busy, as long as you do remember to kind of come back to the present moment and touch in with yourself and notice when you're feeling overwhelmed. And sometimes that's easier than others. Sometimes you might need to sit down and make a list and rank things. You know, what are my priorities? What feels the most important? What is serving me and what isn't serving me? And figure out what to take off your plate. So as a person who does too much and struggles with this, you know, I can say that really checking in with yourself and surrounding yourself with people and relationships that support you goes a really long way. Next, I want to talk about accepting impermanence. About 6 or 7 years ago, I realized that my marriage wasn't working. I was married with the father of my children, and I was a person that expected to be married forever. You know, I kind of held on to this idea that you meet a person, you fall in love, you have some kids, you make it work. And that was my whole idea about the world. And when I realized that my situation wasn't working for me, it was a big struggle. There was a lot of guilt, and I had a lot of thinking and feeling to do around it. And I remember I was watching the show Elementary, which is like a Sherlock Holmes type spoof, and a character on it said, "Life is fluid." And I was like, oh my God, life is fluid. Like, and it's so simple, but it just struck me. And I wrote it down and I looked at it a lot, and I realized that there's not, you know, there's nothing changes. I'm sorry, nothing stays the same. You know, there's the saying that you never step into the same river twice. It's nothing stays the same, and you can't really hold on to much in life, and it doesn't serve you to hold on to much in life, which was like enlightening and also horrible for me to hear, because I'm a person who wants to be grounded and wants to cling to everything. And so it really made me kind of rethink um, my life and rethink what life is. And it kickstarted my meditation process. And it's been a difficult thing for me to embrace, but it's been so valuable to embrace at the same time. And, you know, like I mentioned, I remarried, and, you know, and I haven't thrown away the idea that nothing's forever, but my relationship now is very supportive, and very supportive around that idea that things change, and just supporting each other, knowing that you're going to wake up tomorrow kind of a different person than you were the day before, but that doesn't mean that you can't grow together with someone. And of course, you can always grow, you know, within yourself. We're doing it whether we know it or not, whether we want to or not, and just embracing that, and releasing this idea that things are static. I think really eventually brings peace, no matter how hard it is at first. So that's something that I think is important for everybody to explore. And I don't mean throw yourself into this idea that, you know, nothing is forever, you know, but I just kind of considering it as you go about your day to day, as you form your relationships. Um, I feel like that's really valuable. And then the last aspect of release that I want to mention is the idea of releasing yourself into the world. I feel like I kind of came crashing into the world. I think my mom might be on here, and I'm sure she would agree. Self-expression has always been really important to me. When I was younger, I think, you know, it might have been seen as rebellion in some ways. I pierced my ears 22 times each, and I dyed my hair, and I started getting tattooed when I was 17. And my first car was completely covered in stickers. And I mean, I just did everything I could to show the world who I was. And as I'm older, that's still really important to me. And it's kind of evolved into me wanting to express myself and my truth and be truly open, not only because it benefits me, but because it benefits other people. And especially when you consider, you know, the business that I'm in, sex positivity, whether it's, you know, selling products in Taboo, or it's my writing, which is largely based on intimacy and sexuality. I think it's valuable for other people to see. And I think that it helps expressing yourself and expressing your truth honestly, I think helps other people realize that they aren't alone. It's so easy, I feel like, to kind of hide behind social media. It's so easy to kind of put on this mask and be, put yourself out to the world at whatever you want to be, whatever you want the world to see. And I'm guilty of it for sure. I mean, everybody is, I think, but um, I try to be as honest and as authentic as possible. Not everybody is going to want to, speak to a, crowded room about all of their sexual experiences and history and likes and dislikes and whatever. And I'm the person who is going to do that. You don't have to do that. But any way that you can show up for yourself honestly, and any way that you can express that to other people, I think is just such a gift to everyone around you, and releasing those expectations, releasing, shedding the masks, and releasing yourself into the world. Just how beautiful is that, and how important and how valuable. We've got this life to just live it honestly, and that's what I would encourage everyone to do. So those are my ideas of release. Thank you so much for listening to me. Um, and Michelle, if you want to take it back from me, I think there's a period of question and answer or whatever.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm going to actually kick it off while we're waiting for somebody to say hello and ask a question. I really was listening to how you said that, like, when you start something, you have like a creative practice, like, oh, I'm going to start to draw, or I'll start to do this. And then all of a sudden it turns into this business. And you also want to make sure that you are not necessarily turning everything into a business. Talk to us a little bit about like creativity and your creative practice and the things that you just explore.
To me, I do have the tendency to turn everything. I mean, I don't do anything halfway. I go all the way with everything, which is sometimes great and sometimes not. To me, creativity is really about, especially with writing, because that's my true love. It's really about just opening up and relaxing and letting it flow through you. And when it becomes a business, then I find that the creativity is it's really hampered, and that's why I started drawing, because I found myself, like, now that I'm studying poetry in a more formal setting, and now that I'm working on, craft and that kind of thing, I was thinking too much and I was in my head too much. And so that's why I picked up a pencil, because I thought, I can't draw, so I might as well draw, and there's no pressure around that. And then when I started to feel pressure around that, it was time to do something else. And I think that, there are things that you want to, like, really go hardcore on and turn into a business and put all of your focus on, but it's important to catch yourself if that's superseding the creative aspect, because I think, to me personally, creative expression is so much more important than the rest of it.
I think that's obvious in the work that you do as well. So if you have a question, you can feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand and we will make sure that you're here. Or if you want to drop it in the chat, that is fine too.
Hey, I have a comment.
Yeah, Scott.
Hey, so, as a man, and this is just a comment, not a question, but as a man, when my wife and I are having an anniversary or something, going into a shop like a Taboo, before Taboo existed, was a creepy thing. And when you go into Taboo, the experience that you talked about is truly the experience you get when you go in, just like the way you're welcomed, and the people and the feeling that you have is so comforting, and that's so appreciated. And now hearing you talk about it is just great to hear.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really the most important thing to me, is with the shops is making sure that it's a comfortable environment, because it's such a, I mean, it is the most intimate retail experience that you can have, you know. So, and I hear a lot that people are afraid to come in, and then when they do, it's like, oh, you know, this isn't what I expected. The walls are purple and everybody's smiling, you know, like it's yeah, and it's so great to see that. It's so great to be able to give somebody an experience that is not what they're used to or not what they were expecting if they were afraid to come in.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your design of not just your retail space, but like how does design influence you? Because everything you do comes back to that design, whether you're doing that curated experience within the shops or you are designing your magazine. You know, you are very expressive through design.
Yeah, with the shops, I definitely wanted to get away from the, you know, I wanted to, I didn't want uniforms. I didn't want harsh lighting. I didn't want it to feel like you were shopping in Walmart, you know, because it's not. And so, so yeah, the Taboo signature color is purple, you know, which I feel like is a happy color. And you know, it's bright and it's clean, but it's not harsh lighting. Um, and the layout is, you know, I try to be inviting. You don't come in and see like there's not like bondage gear in your face the moment you walk in. You know, it's kind of we have different rooms in the Broad Street store where you can kind of customize your experience. And yeah, I think the design of that atmosphere is really important. And as far as just design in general, you know, as a fashion merchandising major, I'm not a, I didn't, I don't have my degree in design. I can't design clothes, but I do like to design aesthetic and think about what looks good where, what's going to be appealing to people where and how, and yeah, and that's carried through with the magazine and with the art and all of that.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I feel like that's a big part of what it is that you do, you know, to curate the experience. You said that when you were looking at some of your own practice and that you kind of went back into meditation. We've talked a lot about that during the pandemic on different creative mornings. Can you tell us, like, how do you begin to notice? Like, how do you return inside and reconnect with yourself?
I was actually just talking about this the other day. Well, I was for a long time I was in a meditation group. My friend Randy is here and she's in it with me in Richmond, which sadly I can't do anymore now that it's no longer virtual. But that was really valuable to me for a long time. Just be showing up every week in a group and sitting for half an hour and then discussing. We read books um, and a lot of wonderful books, Pima Chodron, Adi Shanti, that I gained a lot from. In that community, I gained a lot from. And outside of that group, my practice sitting on the cushion is super weak. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I am not a person who has an easy time showing up and sitting by myself. And so because of that, I found other ways to meditate and to come back to the present moment. Um, and you know, I like to walk a lot and kind of use that as a tool for meditation. I think walking meditation to me is so much more accessible than sitting. But I also like to just, and it's not easy, like it takes practice to remember to return to the present moment. Just, I will be sitting somewhere and I might be feeling overwhelmed, or I might notice I have all of these thoughts, and just try to detach myself from the thoughts and, you know, look outside and see, oh, the sun's coming up. That's not what I was going to say, but look outside and see, you know, like a leaf blowing in the breeze, and realize like, this is a leaf blowing in the breeze. There's nothing that I need to think about or focus on other than this leaf right now. And just to see it, because so often we don't even see what's happening around us because we're so in our heads. I mean, and like, that's like, anybody who knows me, like, that's laughable because I, more than anyone, don't see what's happening around me. Like, I will walk through an airport and there's like police dogs like taking somebody down, and my friend is like, did you see that? And I'm like, what? No, you know? So it's especially important to me to be able to like just feel the air around me, hear the sounds, and become grounded with that. And I think that's also a great tool for getting out of your head. I think when you can separate, this is where I am, this is the present moment, this is how my body feels, and then look at your thoughts instead of being your thoughts. That that's just so valuable. And again, it's so difficult, but you know, any way that you can practice stillness, I think is going to be beneficial and make it easier in the long run.
So we have a question from Richard Huff. Do you want to unmute or would you like me to ask it? If I don't see it unmute, okay, go.
Hi there, I can ask. So these are challenging businesses that you entered, and I noticed somebody else asked how you deal with the negativity, but was there ever a point along the way where you wanted to give up, and what kept you going?
There wasn't actually. No, it is tough for sure. It's tough in a lot of ways. You know, the city of Richmond and the surrounding counties make it like very tough to even exist. I have to get an adult business license that I renew every year. I have to put my fingerprints on file every year, and I have to, you know, go through this whole thing just to sell pleasure tools. It's kind of ridiculous. And then also there are people who are, you know, there are a lot of people who don't celebrate sex positivity the way that I do. I remember I had, some of you guys have probably seen my car that I had in Richmond for a long time that's wrapped with women's bodies, including my own, wearing lingerie, and, you know, somebody's handcuffing somebody else and somebody's squirting lubricant. And I was driving that, and I parked at like the UCrops parking lot, and I got out and I was like 8 months pregnant, and this woman stopped her car to tell me I was going to hell. And I'm just like, I'm grocery shopping and I'm a pregnant lady. And like, just because my car, you know, like it's just, and so you have to be able to be firm in what you believe in and realize that people aren't always going to agree with you. There was a huge, like ridiculous controversy when my mural went up on my Midlothian Turnpike store. It's the mural of a woman, Jessie Smith at Loose Screw Tattoo, brilliantly talented, did this mural on the building of this woman feeding her pet beaver. And I got a call from the news that was like, yeah, we're hearing that like your mural is, you know, obscene, and you're trying to, this cartoonish image is, you're trying to lure children into your store. And I thought it was a joke. I was like, yeah, like I have this mural because I'm like hoping that like children who are wandering Midlothian Turnpike will come into this store that like they legally, I will not let them into. Like none of it made sense. It was just wild. But it actually brought me a ton of publicity. It was a news story as far as England, and I got a whole write-up in Style because of it. So it worked in my favor eventually. But you just have to know that what you're doing is what you believe in, and stand up for it, you know, for yourself and also for the sake of the community. And I think that that's why I haven't ever wanted to give up.
That's awesome, Alison. Thank you. And I missed Carmel's question. Did you want to unmute? She sort of touched on it. Did you want to ask any follow-ups from that?
Hi, it's Carmel actually, but
okay.
she asked, but part of it is that some of it is directed at you directly, Alison, and some of it is also directed at the shops, like a brick through the window, or like your employees are also a part of that. So like, what do you do with the culture of your staffing to help deal with that negativity as well?
Yeah, for sure. We've had multiple bricks through the windows. I had someone come in a few years ago and crawled through a storeroom air vent and then busted through a wall and stole like 200,000 DVDs. So a lot of that stuff has happened, and my employees have, you know, a lot of my staff have had to put up with or deal with negativity. There are people who, you know, treat my staff or who want to treat my staff inappropriately sometimes. And so that's a big part of my interviewing process and hiring process, is making sure that we have a staff of people who are truly sex positive, who truly want to help other people, and who are able to draw those hard lines and set boundaries if somebody's being inappropriate with them. And know that I'm here and the managers are here to support them in that. So it's yeah, I mean, we have so many wonderful, supportive customers. I mean, just like, I'm kind of amazed at all of the great things that I hear from people all the time. But there are definitely problems. There's definitely people who you know, who don't act appropriately, who don't approve. And I'm very fortunate to have a staff of really strong sex positive individuals.
That's awesome. Thank you. So I have an anonymous question. Do you have a number one pleasure tool product recommendation? And this, or is there a must-have item in the shop? And this came from a female watcher.
I do. Thank you for asking. So my very, very favorite thing in the world, as far as sex toys go, is the Enjoy Pure Wand. It is, and if you go to my website, taboorva.com, if you type in Enjoy, just the letter N and JOY, my review of it from several years ago should come up. But it's, if you're not familiar with it, it's a surgical steel, like a U shape with a ball on one end and a smaller ball on the other end. It is the ultimate tool for G-spot as stimulation. The larger bulb is meant for G-spot, the smaller bulb is meant for prostate. You can use it either way. But it is, it's the number one tool for G-spot stimulation, and it's the number one tool if you are looking into female ejaculation. If that's something that you're interested in, that's the tool for that. I mean, it's just amazing. So I would say that, number one. And then also in the past couple of years, oral sex simulators have become a pretty big thing. And most of these some of them have vibration, but most of them also have suction, which is relatively new in the past, like 5 years, I guess, maybe. And that's great. I felt like that's kind of a life-changing you know, invention, I guess. The Satisfier is one, the Womanizer is one, strange names, but there are a bunch of them now, but I love the Satisfier. So I would say the Satisfier and the Enjoy Pure Wand are my go-tos.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. I have a feeling that you might be getting some direct messages on recommendations as well, Alison. So stay tuned.
Yeah, you can always reach out to me at Alison, ALISON @taboorva.com, and I can give you plenty of recommendations.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your lens on release and a little bit about your process and your creativity. It's been a joy having you here.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say, you can follow me on Instagram at Throats to the Sky, and there's a dot in between each word, as well as at Taboo RVA, TABOO RVA. And all of my stuff is on there. My website is throatstothesky.com, and that links to the millions of things that I'm doing that I mentioned earlier. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And we did drop your information into the chat so people can follow you there as well. And before we go, I just have one final message on release. Clarity, focus, and forward movement don't come from holding tight. They come from letting go. You must release first, and you can only do that by acknowledging the present moment. I think it's excellent that I actually wrote this before Alison actually said this. So this is almost like a little summary. But today I want you to take time out to shake the tension out in your body when you leave here. Either do a jump up and down or an impromptu dance, take a few deep breaths. The first step to releasing happens in the body. And so that way the mind and the soul and the spirit can follow. We will see you soon, Richmond, and thank you so much for joining us today.